bullshit derivative. That I love. I absolutely love.
Hello, and welcome to another Steel Division Divisional overview. And today we're taking a look at 17th SS Panzer Grenadier Division, or as I like to call, the actual good Axis Infantry Division compared to 352nd and 716th. Yes, it's technically mechanized, and they do have some Panzer Division parts, such as Panzer Grenadiers, for example, but they really do play out more of your standard infantry division that's more slow and methodical rather than light vehicle pushes. So well, let's take a look at how they actually work out, how to actually build a division or deck for them. So for your economy, you got 75 points on A phase, 125 in B, and 130 in C. A pretty solid point lineup. You don't have a ton of points early on, it's on the lower end of the scale, but usually a lot of your stuff is cheaper. In A phase, you have a lot more cheaper units to buy, so it's not really that big of a deal. And then B and C phase it's perfect, it's on point. You got a whopping 40 activation points, and in terms of your slot loadout, you got a lot of infantry, anti-tank support and artillery, and everything else is pretty standard. You're not restricted to 3 slots in any category, so that's already a pretty good sign. So if we take a look at the recon tab, first up we got the bikes. They're crap, never take them. Then we got Spar Troops, which is a very awesome Axis recon unit, as they do have the MG42, or 34, my bad, which means they can fight rather effectively in open ground engagements against more regular, like riflemen. The allies have British and American riflemen in that regard. Also, you're going to be seeing a lot of these swim wagons, which is cool because they can actually go off-road and into the water, but that's usually not really that much of an issue because there's not really much water or river to really take advantage of. This isn't Wargame Red Dragon. We also got Auclair. Now you've got 2 different transport options. You've got 221 with the PZB-41, which I believe is the Tapered Bore Gun. This honestly is not a good unit, and it doesn't have machine gun, doesn't have HE ammo, and even though the cannon is pretty decent, it has low AP and low range, but it shoots rather fast, it's just a bit too specialized to really be all that useful. And then you got 222, which is always a pretty solid choice for a light vehicle transport. And then later on you got 231s and 233s, which are both pretty decent options too. But, I don't know, I just really prefer getting the 222s over the 231s, as the 222s are very similar. They got the same ammo, and yeah, and one less frontal armor compared to the 231. But overall, it's a pretty solid recon lineup. Really, the Spar Troops are what you should really be using as your main recon unit. Infantry is very well balanced. You've got a bit of everything going on here. So for your legions, you've got Panzer Grenadier Fuhrers in A phase, and in B phase, you've got Pioneer Fuhrers. Both are pretty good. It's not really an upgrade, it's more of a side grade between both. The Panzer Grenadier Fuhrers are a better choice, as honestly, smoke grenades on leaders is a very powerful piece of kit, and I'll explain why a little bit later. So you also got SS Stormtroops, which are pretty much Stormtroops, similar to 352nd. The major difference is they do have a Panzerfaust, making them good for anti-tank capabilities, and you're going to need that as your regular Panzer Grenadiers don't have the Panzerfaust, so you're going to have to rely on your SS Stormtroops to be knocking out any enemy vehicles that dare come close. But they're very powerful CQC guys. The one major downside is they don't have satchel charges, so if you're fighting an enemy unit that has satchel charges or flamethrower, you're going to have to do a bit of micro, especially against a satchel charge, to really come out on top. And a flamethrower, yeah, they're kind of top trumps when it comes to 100-meter engagement distances. And you got some MG42s, and, they're decent, the MG42s, but they're not really rough roll, and we'll get to that later. You also got more Stormtroopers later on in B phase. You finally get access to some Pioneers, more Panzer Grenadiers, and Stern Pioneers, which are all very good, very solid choices. Really, every single infantry unit in this division is a good choice in one way or the other. You can't exactly go all it's wrong. But yeah, it's great. You got your long range with the Panzer Grenadiers, you got your short range with the Stormtroops and Stern Pioneers, and your short range, mid-range engagement guys with the Pioneers. It's a very solid infantry loadout in general. Tanks, there's not really much options. The main standout is the 2-star Stug 3 F8 in A phase. This is great because it's an A phase Axis tank. Yeah, it's actually a proper tank, or tank destroyer in this case, as it has armor, it has a good gun, it has the veterancy. This thing is an absolute killing machine. The one downside is you only get one of them, it can only be in one place at one time, and it's usually a very high priority target. The 8 armor is better compared to the armor you get for your Renault tanks or other captured friend tanks or Panther 3s that you usually use in A phase, but a 6-pounder can still go right through you, so you're going to have to be very careful when using this unit, and you don't want it to die because you're not really going to have any other armor in A phase to support you, so you have to wait till B phase to get some reinforcements. And then the other 2 tanks are Panzer IV Commands with 1-star veterancy, they're alright, and then you got Stag 4s, these are exclusive to the 17th SS Panzer Grenadier, and they are essentially just a Jagdpanzer with 2 less frontal armor. They're still really good units as it has a 1.2 kilometer range, great ammo, the armor is enough to survive against 11-pounders, or 6-pounders, my bad, I was thinking 11 AP for 6-pounders, and some more higher AP guns such as the American 76 at longer range. It can still go through you, the American 76, but you do have a chance of actually surviving. So you get some in B, some in C. They don't have any veterancy, unfortunately, but these are really just solid tanks for holding the line, per se. So support, you got a lot of options. You got 223s, command vehicles with 2-star veterancy. Good command. I mean, you don't really get many command tanks from your infantry command, alright, so these guys are pretty important in giving your units extra veterancy, and you're going to want that veterancy. But the real star of this division, the MVP, is the IG-18 spam. These are the reasons you don't need to get MG42s. Because yes, you can't put this in a building compared to an MG42, but it does more HE damage and an explosive HE damage, so it can kill lightly armored vehicles if they shoot them enough. It has veterancy, and it has extra range. These things are fantastic. You get a lot of them. They're cheap, you can spread them around, and they're really good general all-purpose support guns, and they're really going to be the backbone of your pushes as they support your Panzer Grenadiers and other infantry moving up in the open ground. I can't recommend these guys enough. You should at least have 2 cards of them in your deck. You got A-phase supply trucks, and they come in ×2 in A-phase, which is really good bang for your buck. That is a lot of supplies, and then ×4 in B-phase, so you're going to need all that supply because you're going to be going through a lot of ammo, especially once you get to the artillery section. But it's great. Also, if you're playing a team match, the teammates are going to love you with all the supplies. Yeah, then we got the IG-33. These honestly aren't really worthwhile. They perform the same role as the IG-18, and yes, it does a lot of damage. 27 HE is that's Death Star territory. But it's very slow, it's 8 kilometers compared to 13 kilometers an hour of an IG-18, which is a pretty big deal because these things always end up getting spotted and then become a high priority target for artillery. And the IG-33 is just going to have to sit there and take it like a champ. Yes, it has more HP too, but once the IG-33 is found out, it usually dies very quickly. And it's more expensive, so you can't spam him as often. It's just not really not worthwhile of a choice. But if you do want Death Star cannon, you do have the grill, which is essentially just on the side of I think a Panzer 38T chassis. This is much more of a better option compared to the IG-33, as it's mobile, it can relocate and move up. It's a much better option. Yes, I guess you do get less of them, in B-phase you do get some as well. But this is still not really recommended. Once again, just IG-18 spam is all you really need. Later on, you get 232s in B and C phase and a good amount, and a 2-star veterancy, and then just, more IG-33s and grills, etc. Anti-tank, we've got a lot of options. It's all pretty standard. You got Panda Tracks in A and B phase. Panda Tracks are always a good unit, especially in a division like this where your AT is a bit lackluster early on, especially your infantry AT. Yes, you got the Storm Troops, but the Panda Tracks are, they're always great. You can always get some good kills with Panda Tracks with just a little bit of micro and a little bit of ambush tactics. You also got Pack 38, which is pretty standard, but you got access to Pack 40s in A phase, which is great, as Pack 40s in A phase are absolutely killer, as they provide good infantry fly support, and they can pretty much kill every single, well, majority of allied tanks in A phase. If you're fighting against 15 Scots, your average is still going to be a pain in the ass. B phase, you got a lot more Pack 40s in ×3, so he's really the backbone of your ground-based anti-tank weaponry. And you got some mortar frees as well. You got unvetted and vetted runs, of course. These are still pretty good units. Yes, the Stugfall does a similar row per se, but the mortar free is 70 points cheaper. It doesn't have the armor, which is really downside and a little bit less HE ammunition. But still, the mortar free it's a solid choice. You can't really go too wrong with this unit. And then you got the big ass Pack 43s, because sometimes bigger is just better. And if you're, fighting against 15th Scotch or 3rd Armoured, and you really want that Jumbo or Churchill dead, the Pack 43 is here for you. This is usually overkill in most cases, but the overkill is actually really good, as when this thing shoots, usually what's in the other end will be destroyed. So these are definitely a worthwhile pick, especially for later AT options. Pack 43s are great. They're really fun, as they're just an extremely reliable anti-tank unit. Anti-air it's alright. You got a lot of flak villains, which are always great, because you have run 20mm when you can have 4 of them strapped together. You also got some flak 36s in A phase, so the A phase run isn't really worth it. You got 20 mils on the back of a truck, which isn't really worth it. More flak villains, more flak 36s in the B phase, which are definitely a good card to take. And also flak villains on the back of a truck, and more of those later on. And then flak 36s on the back of a truck. So it's a nice mix of mobile and static anti-aircraft unit. Really the backbone is going to be your flak villains and your flak 36s. Mobile runs are also good too, but personally they come a little bit too late for me to really be as useful. Artillery. So, we got Neighbourwerfers, we got 81mm mortars, and also off-map artillery. It's only 173mm off-map. You got AG-18s, you got 120mm mortars, and also 210mm off-map artillery. Now, out of all these artillery pieces, all you really need to care about are the Neighbourwerfers, as the Neighbourwerfers are such powerful units. Yes, you don't have smoke compared to the mortars, or the more direct precision fire support compared to other artillery pieces, but Neighbourwerfers, really anything that has the name Werfer or Werframen in it, is just an absolute Axis problem solver. If you're being pushed, you can just use the Neighbourwerfer to stop the push. If you need to attack somewhere, you could just soften them up with 1 or 2 Neighbourwerfer strikes and get the job done. Neighbourwerfer 41s are cheap as chips at 60 points, and you have a lot of supply trucks, especially in A phase, so it's pretty easy to keep at, 1-shot capacity that they hold up and running, and you get a lot of them. They have veterancy, they're great. You also got access to the Neighbourwerfer 42, which is pretty much just double the power of a single Neighbourwerfer 41 for just over double the price. It's 5 extra points more. But honestly, all these other artillery pieces are not really worthwhile. I don't really think they're really that much of a choice. Except for the 210mm off-map. This is the one exception to all the artillery, but just use Neighbourwerfers. Just bloody use Neighbourwerfers. And airplanes. So you got a lot of airplanes options. You got Storchers in A phase. That's a pretty decent little recon plane. It can do some work if used correctly. But a lot of the time, don't you take recon planes because you want something that can actually engage in combat. And you got Ju-87Ds, and these are the old school Junkers, the ones that actually do the dive bombing tactic. They do carry one big, or medium size, I guess in this case, 250 kilogram bomb. They're cheap, they have veterancy. These aren't really to be underestimated. Yes, they're slow and they're completely out of date at this point. But if you manage to get like 3 or 4 of them in a conga line, you can just usually, destroy maybe 1 or 2 AT guns or stress out a tank a bit. And these are pretty hard to shoot down, As the one tip of JU-87s, if you do have a fighter that's chasing you, turn fight it, because the JU-87 has the best agility in games. It has the better agility in every single allied fighter. So, if you get into a turn fight, you're not going to be able to kill it with your, like, 2 frontal machine guns, but you're going to stop him from being able to kill you, as you're going to be able to get in their tail much more than they can get onto your tail. But competitively, these aren't really a rough roll, as they just don't really, they lack the punch. You got JU-87G anti-tank planes, some in A and some in B, and then you got Messerschmitt rocket planes, more some in A and more into B phase. And then Focke-Wulf fighter planes, which are pretty decent. They're really your only dedicated fighter in its division. And then later on, you got JU-88 carpet bombers. So that pretty much covers all the units. So let's take a look at a division that I built earlier. Once again, the deck code is down in the description below. If I can actually find it, there we go. The deck code is in the description below. My deck, I'd say, is more general purpose, while the one we're going to see in the replay, YUEJIN, is more focused on 1v1. But this one can also function rather well in a 1v1. So nonetheless, let's take a look. A phase, Recon, got Spar Troops, they're pretty good. And then one card of B phase, all clears with 222. I'm not a big fan of taking these, as I kind of feel like 222 fulfills a similar role for a bit cheaper. And you're not really going to be taking advantage of the mobility of these units, because you don't really have much else that is really out mobile. You really shouldn't be aiming to do, you know, crazy pushes, you know, exploiting a flank like your, you know, bloody Ghost Division through the Ardennes Forest in 1940. It's slow and methodical, so you can afford to take more slow and methodical units. Infantry, I played it rather safe and just kind of took just a bit of everything. A phase, we've got the Storm Troops, which are good CQC guys, and then 2 of the Panzer Grenadiers. B phase, we just pretty much took one of every single B phase infantry card. We're going to be sticking with Run Leader, as I prefer using the support leaders, as I want more infantry slots. And no MG42s, because IG-18s pretty much fulfill the exact same role. But it's a very safe loadout. You're going to be good in all scenarios with this, long story short. Tank loadout, we got the Rundsteiger Fate, as it's such a powerful unit. It can really do wonders if you use it effectively in A phase and don't get it killed to a sneaky 6-pounder. And then 1 B phase and 1 C phase like 4, it's just more than enough armor to get you by. You're not going to be doing any crazy tank pushes, but these guys hold the line very well. Support, IG-18 spam, we're taking 2 cards worth. Heck, 3 cards is usually pretty good, but I kind of want to take more supply. We've got 1 card of A phase 223s, and then we're going to wait till C phase to get more 232s. As in this deck, we got 2 of these and then 3 leader units in total to get us through the first 20 minutes, which I think is more than enough if you're not like going balls to the wall and, you know, charging all 223s into anti-tank fire. So it's a little bit leaderless early on, but you know, if you're a bit more conservative, you can definitely make it work out, and it definitely pays off later, as that's a lot of leaders. That's a good bang for your buck. And then 1 A phase and 1 B phase play trunk to keep the war machine running. Anti-tank, pretty generalized, taking Panther Tracks, Pack 38 and a Pack 14 A phase. 1 of everything, pretty balanced. B phase, take 1 card of Pack 40s, and the Marder 3s. I prefer taking the veterancy runs over the non-veterancy ones, to be honest, as I feel like I don't really need 4 Marder 3s, because I already got a lot of Stug 4s. These are here more for if I need the extra veterancy to deal with a more highly sophisticated threat, or if I just need to get like an anti-tank gun quick, because you can buy 1 of these per minute. If you don't feel comfortable taking only 2 Marder 3s, feel free to swap us out for the 4 times card. You're not losing too much per se, but you know, sometimes that every little bit helps. If you boost this with a leader, it comes a 2-star unit, and a 2-star unit is pretty damn good. And then C phase, we got the 1 card of Pack 43 to be our big problem solver. Anti-air's pretty balanced. 1 flank cling card in A phase is general purpose. 2 B phase flank 36s, and then C phase 1 flank 30 or 1 37mm flank 36 on the back of a truck. It's balanced. It's just enough to get you by. It's not a great amount of AA, to be entirely honest, but these Flak 36 at 37mm prove to be rather effective anti-aircraft pieces. Artillery, surprise, it's just neighbour rifle spam, except for the one off-map artillery card. We got 6 neighbour rifle 41s in total, and 142. These are great, they're fantastic. Just make sure to not let them be killed. As yes, you can replace them as cheap in that regard, but you only got a limited amount, so you don't want to be losing these. These are one of the more important units in this entire division, as neighbour rifles are just so bloody powerful. They're so good at attacking, they're so good at defending, they're so general purpose. Yes, you don't have any artillery smoke units, but you don't need it when the enemy's running an array, because they just got the Werft. And then, you know, 2 10mm off-map, because you doesn't like 2 10mm off-map artillery pieces. And airplanes is pretty much just rocket spam. Messerschmitt rocket planes, I say this every time, are fantastic. They're one of the best planes you can get as Axis, as they have a 2-minute reload on the rocket. Your neighbour rifles are like a butcher's knife. These are more of your surgical precision tools. If you need to knock out a high priority target 17-pounder anti-tank gun, artillery piece, etc., the Messerschmitt 109s are your tool to do that. And you get a lot of them, and you got the run card of JU-87G for some aerial anti-tank purposes. This to help bolster our anti-tank loadout a bit. Yes, we have no dedicated fighters, but the Messerschmitt 109s are still pretty decent fighters. They're not as good as the Volkerorfs by a long shot, but they can still perform their job somewhat admirably, if I can actually say that word right. If you're, using your anti-aircraft to cover, you're going to use the anti-aircraft guns to bolster your ME-109s in aerial dogfights. So, overall, the pros of this division: you got a very solid infantry lineup. You got everything that you need. You lots of raids to mix and match. You got CQC, you got your long range, you got your mid range. It's a lovely infantry lineup. And what makes this deck good compared to other Axis infantry decks is we're using Panzer Grenadiers rather than regular Grenadiers. As regular Grenadiers only have one machine gun, Panzer Grenadiers have 2 machine guns. And if I do my math correctly, 2 is much better than just having 1. You have support gun spam in terms of IG-18s. You have neighbour rifle spam in terms of neighbour rifles. You got rocket plane spam, and you got Stug Life. The Stug 4s are solid, very solid tanks. They're not the best in the world, but they're very well-rounded. They're reasonably priced. They're pretty damn good. Cons. There's really only 2 major cons that I can really come up for 17th SS. The first one is it's not a very mobile division. You have to play very slow and very methodically to take territory. You can't just rush through with a bunch of light vehicles, like I keep saying, and just capture a bunch of ground after weakening the enemy on one flank. It's going to be much more slow and deliberate, using your artillery, using your infantry to slowly move up, as you're really going to be leading the front with your Panzer Grenadiers and infantry as a the more prolific unit in its division. So if you want something more fast and mobile and taking the point, this isn't a division for you. And the other major one is you lack a lot of veterancy. Most of the units in this division are pretty much unvetted, only have 1-star veterancy. The only 2-star veterancy units in this division is the Stug F8 and the support cars. That's all you got. So most of your combat units only have no or 1-star veterancy. So it's very important in using your support cars, your leader units, to bolster the veterancy on your units to give them the extra fighting edge. As especially now in the current matter of high veterancy divisions being much more better than spam divisions per se, you definitely want to have as many stars as you can to bolster your frontline fighting force. But nonetheless, that out the way, let's see how the 17th SS actually perform in a 1v1. Hello, and we are back, and we're doing a 1v1 on Hill 112, where you have Yoda, as he shall play the 101st Airborne, and YUEJIN as the 17th SS Panzer Grenadier Division. So take a look at YUEJIN's deck. One major difference, as we see, is he has a lot of stormtroops. I believe he took all of the stormtroops, and the rest of his infantry lineup is Pioneers and B-Phase and Panzer Grenadiers. Now, it may seem a bit ballsy taking all stormtroops, and it definitely is, but you can make stormtroops work really bloody well. Yes, they only have 100-meter engagement distance, but you gotta realize they have smoke, and smoke grenades are so good. Like I said before, the Panzer Grenadier Führer being better than the Pioneer Führer, that smoke grenade is so bloody important. For the stormtroops, it allows them to get in closer, close the distance, and just mow everything down with their PPSHs. For the Panzer Grenadier Führer, you're usually going to have your Panzer Grenadier Führer near your tanks or other supporting MVP units, and if your MVP unit, such as your Slug F8, starts taking some fire, the Panzer Grenadier Führer can pop a smoke, and compared to smoke artillery, it's instantaneous. So it's pretty much like having a smoke screen launcher on your tank, but on an infantry unit. Apart from that, IG-18 spam as usual, some Panzer IVs, and his artillery loadout is a lot less neighbourworthy and more mortary. And also he has taken pretty much all the fighter planes, which is rather surprising. I'd still highly recommend doing the rocket plane spam. Maybe not as much as I do it per se. I mean, maybe take one card of fighters if you're a little bit worried about your airspace. But you're definitely missing out on not taking Messerschmitt 109 rocket planes. So if we take a look at the actual map and the loadout per se, he's fighting against 101st, which is a pretty good division to fight against, as it's a very soft-skinned division. They don't really have that much in array of armor. It's mainly just, you know, some Locusts early on, maybe some Wolverines or M4 Shermans later, and it's really just soft targets that Eugene's going to have to worry about. The 101st Airborne AB rifles are definitely going to give Eugene a run for his money, as they're pretty good in open ground engagements, so you can hold your own somewhat efficiently against Panzer Grenadiers. They're not as good as Panzer Grenadiers in a one-on-one fight, as they only have one machine gun, but that one M1919 is still rather powerful. But as we see from Eugene, he's got the support guns, got one IG-18 over here, another one over here. It's really just IG-18s. They are absolutely fantastic mortar over here, and he's sending some guys over towards the hill. And it's a pretty good map as well. It's just the perfect amount of cover to open ground ratio, as you can use the open ground areas to take advantage of the IG-18s, and there's just enough tree lines, you know, to pretty much, you know, island, I was going to say island hop, but this isn't a bloody Pacific campaign, but hop from one tree line to another, Panzer Grenadiers, while you have, or Stormtroops in this case, while you have your support guns and artillery will support you. So let's speed this up a little bit more, so we can actually get the game started, and I don't have to keep bantering on, and off we go. So if we take a look at Eugene's deployment, sending a little bit to the middle, but mainly onto the flanks. He's going to be going for the hill, which is very important, as that's really the, you know, high priority area of the map. Is it's easier to fight downhill than it is fighting up the hill, so you might as well try to get the hill early on. And on the right hand side, it's a pretty spread out loadout for Yoda. Yeah, sending some guys up towards the hill, but it's also all pretty concise. He's taking quite a lot of anti-tank guns, and against 17th, I mean, there are the cheap runs, to be fair, but you don't have to worry too much in A phase against 17th as anti-tank rise, as you got like the 2-3s, which you know, they're pretty easy to do, or even with just mortars. It's just that one Stun F8 that you have to worry about. Now we've got the IG-18s deploying, the Spar Troops as well. And on the hill, how many Stormtroops? He's got 1, 2 Stormtrooper squads, a Panzer Grenadier, and also the Pak-38 AT gun for a bit of AT capabilities. And in that forest, he should really take it. That one AB Engineer squad will definitely prove to be a bit of a pain in the ass CQC, as honestly, Flamethrower trumps all in 100-meter engagements. So it really depends how you can micro his Stormtroops. If you can micro Stormtroops to be separated, so the Flame Troop shoots at one, while the Stormtroop isn't being shot at, can return fire. It usually works pretty well. He also has a mortar to give cover and fire, and if he can mortar the ABNG before they can do much damage. That would work rather well. You see, he's splitting up the Storm Troops, not getting them too bunched up, as you don't want AoE damage and a flamethrower burning you alive. And even bringing the 2-2-3 up close. And even though you want to be kind of conservative and keep us alive, it's just a decent unit to bring up close, just to give you, a bit of mech armored fire support. As you got one machine gun and the mortars is gonna devastate ABNGs, and the stormtroops is gonna chase everything down. And with the ABNGs pretty much running for the hills with 1 HP, the stormtroops are gonna clear out forests. Now Yoda does bring out the 75mm mortar, and really for Yoda, it's just his best bet early on. As if he can knock out his IG-18s, that's really the major punching force, the major offensive arm YUEJIN has. Even though yes, they are a defensive unit, they are rather powerful, and they prove to be a pain in the ass, especially if you allow your opponent just to get a critical mass of IG-18s, where you move up 1 infantry in it and you get shot by 3 of them from 3 different areas. That's usually not all that fun. But YUEJIN does manage to secure the hill. And as you see, there's no real crazy pushes. He's pretty much just defending the line in any phase. And that's really how you kind of play 17th SS early on. As it's tough to attack early on. You got that 1 Stugger Fate, but it's really more of a defensive division. Especially against 101st. As 101st definitely has the early game advantage, a 25-point advantage over YUEJIN, and better units to move up, such as all the locusts, a good amount of vetted infantry early on, all that good stuff, and well-equipped infantry, as those ABNGs and AB rifles have a rather deadly weapon loadout. That's what makes 101st a good division. We do have some smoke being dropped here, which I don't really see how it's going to help Yoda all that much, but YUEJIN is just going to slowly make up to his tree line with nothing really to stop him. He's going to be able to engage his AB rifle squad. The second one is not going to be in range to give fire support, so in open ground engagement, the Panzer Grenadier rings out for sure as 2 machine guns beats 1 machine gun. But now he's got control of the hill. He's going to put some pressure on the southern sector, or the northeastern sector. I was thinking south because you go down a hill at south, etc. So he's going to be using the mortar to suppress the 50 cal machine gun, and he's going to be rusting his 223. I think he's trying to get some quick surrenders here, exposing himself to some fire, which is a bit risky, as you don't want to be losing that 223, as that's rather importantly the unit. And he's going to be wrestling. Yeah, he's going to get the surrender on the 50 cal, which is definitely a good hit, yeah. And usually 50 cals are, they're a really good unit to take. But against 17th SS, which has IG-18, just outrange your 50 cals, it's kind of the trump card against those types of units. But now we go to YUEJIN on the +2 point advantage, and as you see, he's managed to get a lot of ground, but it's not in, crazy spearhead. He just managed to get some good advantageous areas under his control. And Yoda, he doesn't have units here, doesn't have an infantry unit here to help take some ground. He needs some stuff on the left-hand side to retake some of the map, and especially in the middle as well. But YUEJIN is applying good pressure. It's pretty slow, it's pretty methodical. There's no real crazy bells or whistles going on. It's just moving up some infantry here and there with some support guns, doing a support, and Yoda really needs to get his 75mm gun to actually start killing his IG-18s, but you see YUEJIN's doing a very good job moving them every time they get shot at. And this is where you take IG-18s over the IG-33s. If this is IG-33s, it'd still be somewhere back here if they're trying to bloody move, as they are just way too slow. But you see in the open ground engagements, YUEJIN just has complete superiority over the Panzer Grenadiers and IG-18 combo. And bringing out some Spar Troops as well. And yeah, it's just, he only has the 4 Panzer Grenadiers in total in his deck, but he is using them rather effectively. Got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's all 4 of his Panzer Grenadiers. We also got relay Spar Troops kind of perform a similar role. I mean, they're not as good as Panzer Grenadiers as they have less guys and only one machine gun, but when the most allied infantry, well, not 101st Airborne case, because AB rifles have good machine guns. Like, I'm talking about American rifles and British rifles. You know, Spar Troops usually win that engagement, as those infantry have pretty terrible damage application at like the 300-400 meter mark, where Spar Troops do. And you can get very ballsy with his IG-18 push. And he's going to be bringing in another Panzer Grenadier. Okay, did I miscount the Panzer Grens? Oh, no, I thought it was a Panzer Grenadier over here, but that's just a Spar Troop, my bad. But the AB Rifle's going to get in close, and this is where they do excel, as the Panzer Grenadier only has one submachine gun, and I don't think the IG-18 is going to get much of a shot off. The AB Rifle's up and close, the IG-AT is trying to get a shot off, but we do have the support guns in back, and as we see, the layers of support really pays off well. He does lose the IG-18, but in the same pro time, he does manage to kill the AB rifle squads, and he does manage to capture the tree line, so it's definitely worthwhile. You see, he's just got IG-18 everywhere. I mean, he really should try and get one up in his hill. That'd be a good position to get another run, but as you see, the Storm Troop, yes, it's in the open. Yes, it only has 100 meter engagement distance, and he'll pretty much get lit up once the smoke goes down, but this is good use of defensive smoke application. And you gotta realize, with those smoke grenades, you got two of them, so that allows you to close up, 150, 200 meters, if you play your cards right, if you know how to drop smoke efficiently, which, in most circumstances, should get you close enough to, give them the good old PPS-8 spray. Like it's Call of Duty 2. But over here, the Spar Troop doesn't have any fire support, so the Panzer Grenadiers coming in, they're going to be able to help deal with the AB rifles, as you see, stunning them up extremely quickly. Panzer Grenadiers are never to beat rifle drift. And this is, I mean, if 17th had regular Grenadiers compared to Panzer Grenadiers, it would not be nearly as good as the division. As these Panzer Grenadiers are such bloody good infantry, and it's the same that YUEJIN doesn't take more of them. I definitely think it's taken out when he was B-Faced Pioneers for another Panzer Grenadier card in YUEJIN's deck would be more worthwhile, personally. As you already have all the Storm Troops, you already have a lot of CQC capabilities, so you might as well take, another Panzer Grenadier card to help boost your more longer range infantry capabilities later on. But as you can see, he's just absolutely dominating these open ground engagements. And even though we are only in a phase, he's got a plus 2 point advantage. And I do want to note, YUEJIN is one of the top players in this game. So this is why he is doing absolutely phenomenally. Usually don't actually do this well early on as 17th SS. If your opponent, usually allied divisions have a better A phase compared to Axis divisions, and are usually more aggressive early on compared to Axis divisions. For the most part in A phase for 17th, you're usually just defending, you're holding your ground, you're trying to bide your time, or maybe get a neighbor alpha to, make a breakthrough somewhere. But YUEJIN's just doing a great job. And as you see, it's not, a crazy spearhead push in any sector. It's just slow, it's methodical. It takes ground one tree line at a time, and it's working well around. It's just his layers of support. Now, Yoda is getting himself some airplanes, and that's probably a pretty good choice. The airplanes bomb the crap out of everything. That Panzer Grenadier squad going down. So it's definitely going to force YUEJIN to invest more into anti-air. Guess let's render on the Pathfinders over here. And Yoda getting some M8 Scotch, which is definitely a good idea. M8 Scotch are usually a pretty terrible unit, and I wouldn't really recommend it. But in this sort of matchup, they definitely help out, as it's mainly just soft targets. I mean, YUEJIN doesn't even have the Stug F8 on the field. But yeah, he just has bloody good momentum. And the IG-18s, even though they're not an anti-tank unit, they can still keep armor at bay. That is a 5 armor unit. So they can hold their ground. against armoured vehicles that do come close. And the M22 Locust is going to have an even worse time against the IG-18, as it only has 3 frontal armour. So even though it doesn't have the AT guns nearby, those IG-18s can still perform their job rather admirably. Now we do have the Sniper F8 finally being brought out a little bit late. We're putting it out in B phase, it's definitely more useful in A phase, and heck, did he? I think he just killed out with the IG-18s, and I wouldn't even be surprised, because IG-18s bloody do that. But it's still a rather good unit, especially against 101st, as they are a bit, lackluster in terms of their armor. I mean, the Shermans can prove to be a run for your money, but usually have the veterancy advantage on the Shermans. So even though Sniper F8 has worse armor, the veterancy definitely makes up for that. And really, YUEJIN, he just has good positions. He pretty much holds all the uphill positions over Yoda, and pretty much Yoda has to come uphill on a choke point, and YUEJIN's just rating up here with his support guns. One of his IG-18s finally gets suppressed by the M8 Scott, as it does get close enough to use its 50 cal machine gun in support. And he does have his artillery piece, but it is low in ammunition. And YUEJIN, I mean, he's meant to keep his IG-18s alive much better than I'd say a regular player would, because he was maneuvering them around, he wasn't keeping them in one spot. So, even though Yoda had a 75mm howitzer, it didn't really do that much damage. I don't even really think it, personally killed a IG-18, as, I'm trying to think of the word yet, it didn't really manage to get any bloody hits. But yeah, it's just, I mean, I think this really just sums up well on how to play 17th SS. I mean, it's a very ideal situation against, pretty ideal division. Also, Yoda wasn't as aggressive, I'd say, as he could have been early on, personally. At the same time, the IG-18s did keep him at bay. But what I really want you to take from this replay is that 17th is slower, it's methodical, and you just use layers of support guns and support weaponry to, well, I don't want to say support again, but you pretty much are just supporting your infantry to move up and really take the ground, as the infantry are going to be leading the way for this division. So I'm just going to fast forward through the rest of this replay. There's nothing really much else to see. I mean, it's meant to get some air superiority now. It does have the fighters, and J87, getting a kill here and there. I think it managed to kill 2 Shermans, so that's pretty bloody good. But yeah, he can just hold his ground. He's got a +3 point advantage. All he has to do is wait 3 minutes, and he will win the match. No need to even, exert yourself anymore. It's got Neighbor Alpha 42, and as you see, it does some pretty big kabooms. We've got a Panda Strike coming in to try and deal with that Stuart tank. It just gets to surrender easy peasy. Stug being forced back, but he does lose a fighter, but it's not really that big of a deal at this point. He still holds the ground. And yeah, it shall be a good game. YUEJIN taking the victory. Once again, a very ideal victory for 17th. Yoda didn't manage to do well, as we can tell. But YUEJIN really just played out absolutely perfect with 17th. Absolutely perfect. And yeah, the only real kills, he only got 1 kill with the 75mm, and that's with the Pak 38. YUEJIN just did not open himself up to really getting destroyed. And as you can see, the IG-18's doing very good damage, lots of kills, paying themselves off. And like I said before, IG-18s are absolutely fantastic. They're such bloody good units. Such bloody good units. And yeah, I think I really just explained 17th SS enough. And they're not really fancy. There's no real crazy bells or whistles going on, or any crazy secret prototype high-tech units, or high veterancy, apart from that one like Stug F8 they're going to be using. It's very standard, it's very balanced, it's, it's very just methodical. I think that's the best way to describe 17th SS. And if you are in the yet to play an Axis Infantry division, skip the actual 2 proper Axis Infantry divisions and just play 17th, as you're just going to have a much better time. And, well, I'm going to leave it off at that. It's been another Steel Division Divisional overview, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as usual, please just take it easy.